In 2001, a real-world exercise tested the emergency response to a bioterror attack on the continental United States. The operation was called Dark Winter. Within just a few days, the simulation spiraled out of control. The operation predicted a rapid breakdown in essential institutions, civil disorder, and massive civilian casualties. Dark Winter has revealed how vulnerable we've become. Our lifestyle, our security, our safety depends on a delicate and unstable economy. We've created a system so complicated that we no longer understand how to control it. Oil, power, shipping, transport. We live in a complex world. And the more complex it gets, the more fragile it becomes. The system is built on a global supply chain that gets things where they're needed, just in time. We've created a house of cards. Remove just one, and everything falls apart. And what's fueling the system?
Money. Americans can spend $90 billion in a single day of shopping. Last year, 200 million people swarmed their local stores on November 23rd. We call that day Black Friday. Did you know that a flu virus can survive on the surface of a banknote for up to 17 days? One day, there will be a pandemic. It could begin during the crush of Black Friday sales. A pathogen will jump from tainted banknotes to human skin, onto food, toys, children, and loved ones. By the time patient zero feels the first sore throat, millions of people will already be infected. From this point, the breakdown will happen fast.
Day 1, hospitals will reach capacity. Panic will strike. Day 2, quarantine zones will be established. Resources will be rationed. Transport will go into lockdown. Day 3, international trade will stop. The oil will dry up. The stock market will collapse. Day 4, the power will fail. The shelves will be empty. The taps will run dry. And once hunger and despair take hold, people will do anything for survival. By day 5, everyone will be a potential threat.
In 2007, a new presidential directive was signed quietly into law. This maps out the government's response to a crisis, a plan to cope with a real dark winter. It is known as Directive 51. There are rumors of shadow agencies, sleeper cells, covert agents, but nothing can be confirmed.
Our complex world is primed for breakdown.
And once the chaos strikes,
there won't be resources to save us all.
The only question left is, what will it take to save what remains?
Y'all need to pay attention to this coronavirus stuff. Not because of, that it's going to, blow through your community and everybody's going to drop dead like flies. No, it's the panic that is the problem. It's not the actual disease. Hell, SARS killed more people than this coronavirus. The coronavirus fatality rate is only like 2%. The SARS was much higher than that. I think it was like 13% if I remember. Don't quote me on that. But it's the panic. I always say, if you ever want to figure out where white folks' sentiment is and what they're thinking and doing, go over there on sgammo.com, and if you see that notification at the top that says due to high volume, that means white people are buying up a lot of ammunition and they can't keep up with the orders. This is why black people and their anti-Second Amendment asses, I look at us like we're fools. Like, you're an idiot. You're just gonna be out there with nothing but your ass if some shit were to go down. There's only 3 days worth of food in supermarkets. I've talked about that before. We live on a just-in-time or just-in-as-need basis, economy. That's the type of economy that we operate on. Most of the goods in the supermarket are perishable. That's why they have expiration dates on them. And I mean, one blizzard, one hurricane, and, the shelves are empty. So what happens if people stop going to work, because there's a coronavirus outbreak? They say, 5 people in such and such a such or such a place got the coronavirus. 5 elementary students got the coronavirus in such and such a place. Right now, the teachers ain't going to be going to school, right? Everybody's going to stay inside, right? People are going to be paranoid, or, everybody's going to be running around with these masks on, right? I don't know. People just don't think. A lot of black folks got elderly parents, elderly grandparents, caretakers, especially a lot of us black folks that were raised by our grandparents instead of our parents. You know what I mean? So you in your, maybe early to mid 20s, and you're taking care of your, 80-year-old grandmother who raised you, right? And what type of medications does she need? Is she on dialysis, right? Is she a diabetic? That's a big one. It's like, even with especially diabetes, you got to have your insulin every day, right? They got to have batteries for their glucose monitor every day, and how much does that cost? How many black people skimp out on their health care? Right? This is why you see a lot of black people, especially, diabetics. Black people get diabetes. They don't even know what diabetes is. They got to get their foot amputated, right? Because they got peripheral neuropathy. I always say neuropathy, but they also have nephropathy as well. It causes all type of problems. Damages the nerves, damages the heart, damages the kidney, damages the blood vessels, right? A lot of people out here that got uncontrolled diabetes. So I guess they don't think about it. But I'm saying for the ones that have managed diabetes, well, what happens when they can't get their drugs and their medications anymore? What happens if they can't get their metformin? What happens if they can't get their sulfonylureas? What happens if they can't get their, calcium channel blockers or their beta blockers, right? What happens when that happens? You see, we don't really think about these things. You see, like I said, white folks out there, they buying up all the ammunition in the world. Go over there on SGMO and look. Due to high volume, what are they preparing for? They're like, the white folks prepare to be off the grid. Black folks, we don't even think that can happen. Black people always talking about being independent. Talking about, oh, we need to build nations, and you the white man's bitch for working for the white man and everything else. I look at sisters, when they talk that shit, and I'm like, and what good are your degrees gonna do in a situation where, supermarkets run out of food? Like, what the good is your degrees and your strong independence going to do in a situation like that? Black people are not prepared. Then on top of that, many of us don't even have the resources to prepare. That's why you saw during Hurricane Katrina, you had all them white people riding around in their little motorboats and shit like that. Black people ain't had no motorboats. A boat, niggas with a boat, that's like a nigga on a horse, right? So, these are the things that we don't think about, and I'm just saying, they talking about, this whole, coronavirus, and, again, it's not, I don't think it's the actual disease is an issue. It's what it'll do to the economy. It's what it'll do to, the flow of goods and resources. The black community is already a food desert, right? The trucks they already don't come into your community, right? So what do you think is going to happen when those trucks also don't go into the white community? People, they always want to say, oh, this extreme, these scenarios, oh, it's so extreme. Oh, that can't happen. Oh, tyrannical government, that can't happen. When you talk about the Second Amendment, if you stood there on, September 9th, 2001 and said that, some terrorists were going to hijack some planes and slam them into the Pentagon and 2 World Trade Centers or the World Towers, right? And then, slam a plane into crash it into, Pennsylvania, which obviously they had another target, but they didn't get there because the crew fought back. But if you said on September 9th, 2001, that something like that was going to happen, nobody would believe you. I mean, that whole worst case scenario can't happen. Black people really need to stop that crap. Same with Hurricane Katrina. It ain't gonna be that bad. It'll just be strong winds and thunderstorms and it'll blow over. And we saw the aftermath of Hurricane Katrina. Same with Hurricane Sandy. It ain't gonna be that bad. Right? And then the shore towns was getting devastated. The freaking parts of Manhattan were getting flooded. It's not going to be that bad. I don't know why people just don't prepare, when they can prepare. They just don't. In terms of, canned food, and the reason I'm bringing this video up is because my mother called me, and she had all these concerns about, it's like her way of telling me that I was right about, my whole, prepping thing, because she sees me doing shit like that. You know what I mean? Like just always talking about, stuff to buy, stuff I need. Oh, I don't have this, I don't have that. So like I had stuff shipped to her house because, I don't want people, all these package pirates. I was like, I'm not trying to get my shit stolen. And she was like, why did you order some tourniquets? I was like, because I might need some tourniquets. She don't even really know what a tourniquet is. And I just told her, it's whatever, it's for healthcare or whatever. And she's like, oh, okay. But, it's like tourniquet. I'm like, well, what's the point of me having arms and I don't have a damn tourniquet in case the event I get shot or something like that. You got all people sitting there and you got people with guns and no ammo. You got people with guns and no body armor. You got people with guns, no ammo, no body armor, and no tourniquets. I'm like, brilliant. No med kits. You can go on Amazon and buy the whole med kit. For like $100, $200. They got all different type of ones. They got the ones with, there's shit in there. I don't know if you need a blood pressure cuff, but they got, the collar for the neck and, neck braces and, other type of gauze and bandages, thermal blankets. You name it, shears, all that stuff. I think the most important thing is the bandages, the gauze, anything that can, stop a clot. Cause that's the most, critical issue, is bleeding out. So and whatever injury you have, the worst you can have is one where you might possibly bleed the hell out. But I don't know. I just don't think people think about this. I don't think black people take it seriously until it's too late. So I'm just putting this out there. It's not a video talking about anything else. I'm just putting it out there. Like, y'all need to pay attention to this coronavirus shit, because I already know black people don't pay attention to it. They think like, oh, it's not that serious. You think all these white people are scrambling and running around because it's not that serious? I'm telling you, if they have a school or something, let 5 people get it, and they'll shut it down and, let a town get it. People will stay at home. Literally, people will stay at home. They will call out of work. And the economy will come to a screeching halt. It'll be like the Division 2. Literally. Go watch the trailer for Division 2 on YouTube, because at least that was that was a virus as well, but people got this virus and everybody started dying and shit, and the whole economy came to a screeching halt. And then you get what I like to call the frickin', well, in the game they call them the hyenas, but they're basically like scavengers and shit, people who capitalize on the fact that the grid is down. Those are the people that you need AR-15s for. If there's not enough food in the supermarket, where do you think they're going to start looking? They're going to start breaking into people's houses looking for whatever canned foods that they can find. And if you're still there, guess what? You got a problem on your hands, because they want that food and you might need it for yourself. So what do you think they're going to do? Right? You saw this in California. California, when they had them wildfires, if you were paying attention, again, you can go on Google and you can look it up. You know, they had people who were basically breaking into people's houses, you know, as the fires were still going, because everybody had to evacuate. So they were like, nah, I'm going to stay around and I'm going to loot, you know, hopefully maybe before the fire gets here, because they knew nobody was home. They're like, let's get in there and grab what we can grab before, you know, the fire gets to it. And they had people, you know, they had it was a article, and they had people, you know, standing in front of a block, you know, they had their faces covered. And, you know, California, you don't really have a Second Amendment. And these guys, they had the most ragtag arrangement of weapons that they were trying to use to protect their community. You know, a guy was standing there with a revolver. Another guy had like a crossbow. You know, another guy had like one of those single shot shotguns. And then another guy had a gun that you couldn't even tell what it was, but it looked old. You know what I'm saying? Not the most effective means to be able to defend yourself. I mean, it beats nothing, but I'm just saying, not the most effective means to defend yourself. You know, I mean, it was like, I don't understand it, you know, when it comes to black folks. When black people, they run around screaming that they want to be, you know, independent of the black man and all this other stuff. And then we don't prepare to be independent of shit. I don't know any black preppers like that, other than, you know, the isolated EL type of black men, you know, that you know, basically just they're loners. You know what I mean? They're not cool. You know, nobody really wants to hang around them. They're not, you know, entertaining. They're just like nerdy guys. You got a couple YouTube channels of some black guys that are like kind of preppers. They take it seriously. Some of them are guys that, like, you know, they grew up in the hood and they know savagery. They know what type of savages are out there. And, you know, they, you know, either single or trying to raise a family and everything. And they're like, yo, I'm going to protect mine. Like, I'm protecting mine. And, you know, I give my hat off to those brothers. You know what I mean? But the mentality that is pervasive in the community, especially with the black men that are coming out of these single mothered homes where guns are evil and you don't need them and everything else like that, I look at them with a side eye. Like I said, these white people are preparing. Again, go over to sgmo.com and I guarantee you, look, I'll do it right now. I'll do it right here on my phone. sgmo.com. Let's see. Is it connecting? Why am I? Due to extremely high order volume, orders placed at this time are expected to ship out Monday the 2nd, Tuesday the 3rd, and Wednesday the 4th. So, you know, yet again, I say it all the time. I'm like, this is like the go-to. This is like the go-to spot for bulk ammo. In terms of their prices. Family owned and operated ammo sales, Stillwater, Oklahoma. And this goes back to my video about, you know, everybody in the family being on point and having a family business and being able to work with your relatives. If you can't work with your relatives, you know, I mean, what is the likelihood that you're able to go out here and work with other people, you know, that you can trust? You know, when all of y'all on the same team, I understand it's difficult to work with families sometimes because, you know, people, you know, they try to leverage the relationship. They try to leverage the kinfolkness and all that. And, you know, it's problematic. And then, you know, you can't really, it's hard to discipline people because they're in the family. And, you know, it's like, you know, everything's all personally connected. You know, I get all that, but I'm just saying that should be the first group. I mean, that is, you want to talk about tribe, you want to talk about community, you want to talk about, you know, pro-blackness and everything else. The first people that you should be able to get along with and work with for your survival is your family. You know what I'm saying? Like that's the first group of people that you're supposed to be able to work with. You know what I mean? So if you can't fix the problems that exist within your own family and get that shit straightened out there, how the hell do you expect to go out here and deal with other people that are supposed to be in your community and in your quote unquote extended tribe? Like, how is that supposed to work? You know, I was watching some video, you know, somebody was talking about, it's one of the issues that I have with Black Truth Professor and the Black Authority. And I have no issue stating, my issue with their lack of conversation about the Second Amendment. They just kind of like, oh, protect yourself, and it's kind of like it. They don't really elaborate. They don't really go into the details of it. You know what I mean? And they keep talking about this black empowerment and black liberation and everything else like that. And if something was to pop off and there was a quote unquote race war, like all these, people like Adam Woffin want there to be and everything, I'm like, what you gonna do? Like, we gonna go to the white man and ask him at the last minute if some shit were to pop off, if you could borrow a couple of bullets so that you can challenge him or fight him? You know what I'm saying? Like, there's very few black-owned gun stores. Now, I did videos a long time ago, and there was a couple. There was a black woman. She actually ran a gun store and whatnot. And, even some of the white gun community people, even, I mean, in other words, she was pro-Second Amendment and had a gun store, and they brought her up. You can't even get black people to bring her up. Think about that. You got a black woman that owns a gun store, and instead of black people bringing her up and acknowledging her and saying that she's doing a great thing and everything else, it's the white people doing it. And I got another video coming where, I talk about, there was this race riot that was in Columbia, Tennessee, and some of the things that were pointed out in this Emory University, video clip that was done. And it just came down to the fact that, like, we don't know who the enemy is anymore. Back in the day, it was pretty clear cut. Now, we don't see that. You got too many single mother homes, not enough fathers in the home. And, women equate, guns to what they see, which is the rape, pillage, and plunder by Pookie, whether it's black men killing other black men or whether it's black men using those guns in acts of violence against black women. And going back to the domestic violence, video that I talked about, where you get these girls that, like, they think that dating Pookie is sexy and all these niggas with tattoos on their neck. And then, Pookie ends up killing them. And then, the feminists and all the other women want to scream rape and pillage and black men are evil and all that other crap. Right. It's like you got, like, it's just crazy. Like, you got black people that are like, they don't know who the enemy is. And you got groups like Adam Woffin, that are on some just randomly attacking people. That's their whole MO. Like, their whole MO is not to go out there and, they, after Charlottesville, a lot of them white supremacists went underground because they recognize that they can't be out there, showing their face and doing all that's going to do is get them doxxed, and all that's going to do is get them, cause them to lose their job. And now they don't have the money to make the moves that they want to make because they need the resources from the jobs that they get. So now they operate, discreetly, on the dark web and all of the type of shit, operate out in the open, but their whole MO is just to, just go out there and just kill black people, like what you saw with that situation in the Kroger's or Dylon Roof, to try to instigate and kick off a race war. I'm just saying, like, it's like, despite the fact that I know that we have these problems in the black community and the gender war and all that shit, like, I don't get stupid with it. You know what I'm saying? Like, when we talk and I talk about, all the problems I have with sisters, I'm like, yeah, I may have some problems with sisters, but at the end of the day, I'm like, stay vigilant. You know what I'm saying? Don't be fighting so much that you just blind, from, all your peripheral vision about, what might be moving around you. Like, don't get so buried in, fighting, the opposite sex, within your group that you don't realize that there's a lot of people out here that hate you and don't like you. And if the situation came down to, a minimum resources, you best believe, like, these people are not going to act friendly towards you. They're going to feel very threatened by you based off the stereotypes that have been swirling in their head, based on the fact that they've been fantasizing and preparing for this day, and you go knock on their door asking for, some aspirin or some shit like that, and they shooting at you as soon as you hit the fucking lawn because they're like, oh, these niggers, they came over to raid us. To steal our shit. They were looting. You know what I'm saying? And you just over there trying to get some aspirin. You see? I'm telling you, that's sort of paranoia. Like, it's like logic does not, when people are in desperate situations, logic does not prevail. It is, emotions all over the place. low EQs all over the place, emotional intelligence. And black, I mean, we saw this with the Hurricane Katrina, with the people talking about, it's pheasant season, and all that. So, I'm just saying, black people just need to, be vigilant. They need to be more vigilant. You got these old black folks up there pushing gun control. We support Joe Biden, all that bullshit. I'm like, man, they gonna have us out here with nothing but our ass. And I'm saying, if anything happens, yes, I don't believe that, having to fight a tyrannical government is very likely. But what is more likely is having to deal with, your neighbor or the people on the other side of town. There's many towns in America that are still just as segregated as they were, back, in the 1920s to 1940s, where you got a black side of town and you got a white side of town, And you know how white people get when they get scared, they jump up and they'll blame the minorities. Oh, something happened. They'll make up stories. Oh, a little white girl got raped. Oh, we got to go in there and show niggas what's up, And black people acting like, that can't happen. I'm like, let society break down a little bit. Let the power grids be cut off a little bit. Let the food supplies dry up a little bit. You know what I'm saying? Like, just imagine if there was like a big lever and I could just hit the light switch on the big lever. Boom. All the power goes out. Okay? Pitch black. Right? The cops ain't coming. Your phones don't work. The ambulance aren't coming. Right? And it's just you. And black people love to run around. Oh, the white people, they so racist. Oh, America is racist. Oh, we still haven't resolved the issues of slavery and Jim Crow. Oh, they so racist. Oh, look at Charlottesville. Oh, they're so racist. Well, guess what? Now you in the dark with all them people surrounding you who outnumber you 5-1. 5-1. Okay? Ain't no cameras. Okay? Ain't no Facebook to upstream and upload your shit. I love black people to do that. Yeah, I got you on camera, huh? You're gonna go viral, right? And they go and they got the camera in people's faces, right? And you can expose. Yeah, you can do that in polite society. In polite society, where you can't say that. You can't call them a nigger. And everybody has to be accountable for their actions because of, the fact that they're put out there like that, and they got consequences. And you see the way that corporate, operates and does things, even with the adpocalypse on YouTube, and all these people's channels were getting demonetized because, the freaking corporations freaked out because, we don't want to be associated with anything controversial because it affects our bottom line and we have stockholders that we have to answer to, right? Yeah, and when society is functioning and everything else like that, even though we got this super sensitivity culture that I don't like, or super sensitive culture that I don't like, I don't care for, I think it's gone too far, it's a bit much, and then it's not even going back to Johnny Depp and his wife, and they say they need to fire her and she don't need to be an Aquaman too, even though they fired Johnny Depp and they said he couldn't be Pirates of the Caribbean. But again, that's along the whole gender conversation. I'm just talking about these sort of sensitivities that are out here. Oh, cancel him. He's canceled. Oh, cancel her. She's canceled. She said this. She said that. Yeah. What do you think? How do you think people are going to behave when the lights go out? You know what I'm saying? It's like the purge and shit. From 8 p.m. to 8 a.m. or whatever. All crime is legal. In a situation where there's so much chaos, the cops can't get around, they had that situation in Jersey when Hurricane Sandy hit. They said we are suspending all public service, no police, no ambulance, anything else like that. And I know somebody who was staying at the shore and they had a spot at the shore, and they basically said that they never felt so vulnerable in their life, sitting in their house with the lights out, with candles and a freaking nightstick. He sent his kids away to Pennsylvania, to stay with their grandparents, but he was going to stay with the house because he was worried that, somebody would try to vandalize or come into the house or take things, because the whole town was evacuated and all police services were suspended. There aren't that many police out here. There aren't. You know, even this was the issue with the whole, people talking about the tyrannical government, and they have bombs and they have drones and all this. Yeah, they got all that. There's only like 2.5 million like service members in the military. How many of them would defect if some shit were to pop off and go back to their families or side with the people, right? On top of the fact that when you're talking about, gun ownership in America, let's say there's 100 million gun owners, which is a third of the population. And then, a third of that would be the ones that would actually, go out here and fight. So you're only talking like 30 million people. 30 million people can definitely overwhelm, if you combined all law enforcement and then all, military, like you're only talking maybe 3 million max. And that's if every single cop and every single, military personnel decided that they were going to, confront an armed populace. You know what I'm saying? By default, the federal government is overpowered by the people in the masses. Just depends on how many people, actually go out there, and fight back or push back. But I'm just saying, we don't think about this sort of stuff. We really, really don't. We really don't, and we really should. Because I'm telling you, you out there on your own. This whole system is fragile. If the dollar collapses, if the power goes out, if this coronavirus gets out of control, all it's going to take is somebody with the coronavirus on a public train in New York on the subway, touching the railings and everything else. Bam. You know how fast that shit's going to spread in a city like New York? You know what I'm saying? You're talking 11 million people living on top of each other. Telling you, it's going to look like Division. Y'all think it's a game. The people out in the countryside, they'll fare much better. They'll fare much better. But what if where the food is grown, those people don't want to come into the city? You know what I mean? You have guys driving, 18-wheelers with hazmat suits and shit trying to bring food into the city. Imagine the fucking riots and shit. Right? Because everybody's walking down the street like you see in China, where everybody's got a face mask on and people aren't going outside and people aren't going to work and people are getting quarantined. Right? Because notice they're quarantining people. They're quarantining. You see what they did with them people on the cruise. Right? This building is quarantined. This office is quarantined. This group of people is quarantined. And you know how people are going to do, though? Well, shit, man, I guess I'm taking my 2-week vacation now. Everything shuts down. And like I said, you're going to be out there assed out on your own, with nothing. And, who knows how long that might be. They writing the stuff in the papers now. There's shortages of masks. People can't get the masks that they want to get. They're really, and Donald Trump, with his non-listening to his advisor's ass, he thinks, he's got all the wisdom in the world. He's not going to sit there and do the right thing. So I'm like, y'all need to wake up. Whether it's bottled water, whether it's what do you call it? Guns, ammunition, medical supplies, medications, and especially for, like I said, for them people with diabetes, you're talking 90 days plus for medications. All this stuff has to be constantly produced, constantly manufactured. If any of those manufacturing processes stop, if the building shuts down or quarantine or whatever, or too many people get sick, that messes up the whole production chain. And then what's going to happen? The price is going to jump. It's going to jump sky high. Anything that you can't get that a lot of people want, price is going to jump. And we already know black people are poor, so we'll be the first ones to feel the impact of a price jump on anything, whatever it is. Insert what you will. This is what black people don't think. They don't think. And, that's why I'm just making this video, because, I see the news, I look at it, you know, everybody's all worried about the coronavirus. Like I said, it's really people who are immunocompromised and the elderly. Although that doctor that was in China, the one that's, died, he was 34 years old. So I'm like, I'm still trying to figure out, I'm like, why did he die? Right? Because usually it's the people, it's the elderly and it's the children and it's the people who are, immunocompromised, people who are in low energy states, right? People who already have conditions where their body is spending a lot of energy trying to fight, whatever their chronic disease is. And then on top of that, then they get sick with the coronavirus. Those are the people that end up, dying, and, I don't know what the recovery time is on this. And, but it looks like, most people who get it, do recover. So it's not a big deal. But the way it's about how it's perceived in the mind of people. People are running around, screaming about this coronavirus like it's airborne AIDS, like literally, it's airborne AIDS. Like that's what people are treating it like. And as soon as I'm telling you, as soon as they say coronavirus found in New York City, 10 people contaminated in such and such a building, they're quarantined and everything, it's going to be panic. It's going to be panic. The streets will be even more congested because people will think that, well, if I don't take the train, I can't get it on the train. So I'm going to drive in New York. And then it's just going to be retarded traffic because New York traffic is already retarded. So people are thinking, well, if I'm safe in my car because I got the air filters in my car and I don't have to worry about being on the train and having people cough all up on me and whatnot. I'm telling you, it'd just be a mess. It'd be a mess. And I'm sure there's other things, other concepts, other ideas that I'm missing. But that's pretty much all I got to say about it. I just keep having to tell people, to keep having to remind black people every now and again. I'm like, you should be preparing. Nobody else says that. There's no other black people on the internet that says black people should be preppers. Black people should prep, even urban prep. There should be a conversation about urban prep. How do you prep in an urban environment? If you got to be on some Will Smith, I Am Legend type of shit, how do you prep in an urban environment? I mean, one of the best channels, if you want to, get up on, some of the things that you need. And I'm saying you do it over time. You don't have to do it all at once. You do it over time. Don't drop me off in a Harbor Freight store. Oh my God. Like I hate Harbor Freight because I will go in there and I will discover shit that I need that I didn't need 5 seconds before I walked into Harbor Freight. And then on top of the fact, they're always running that 20% off bullshit. So, I'm like, let me get this. A machete. I might need this. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's like, nigga, you don't need a machete. You know what I'm saying? Like, but I find myself, do I have a machete? Yes, I have a machete. Because I freaking walked my dumb ass in fucking Harbor Freight. But what was I gonna say? It was something I was gonna say real quick about just urban. Like, there's no. I have other than Canadian Prepper. He's a mixed guy. He's a Canadian guy. I think he's mixed. But anyway, Canadian Prepper is a good channel to go to. Because he gives a lot of scenarios, a lot of situations, with society collapsing and breaking down or diseases and things like that. And he's making even more right now because of the coronavirus. So Canadian Prepper is definitely a good and solid channel to go to. If you just want to think about like the modest things, just little shit. I didn't think about how important, how some people, they like how much coffee would be like gold, in a situation where people didn't, where people couldn't get what they needed. There was a bunch of other things that he had on there, like just a list of things that you need, things that you thought that you need, that you didn't know you needed. There was this other channel too. It's like this zombie prep channel, right? And you say, oh, zombies, oh, who's talking about zombies? That's so stupid. But actually, there's a lot of survival tips in these guys that fantasize about these worst case scenarios with the zombies and like where you would want to go and why and where you wouldn't want to go and how you would want to stay away from crowds of people and, you know, stuff like that. And, you know, like how like one video I was watching, he was talking about, you know, police stations and why police stations would be good and why police stations would be bad. And, you know, going where, you know, everybody else goes, you know, like even right now, I'm not going to say it, but like, you know, in terms of being able to get a face mask. Oh, I know where I could get a face mask right now, but people haven't thought about getting a face mask from the place that I'm saying I would go to get a face mask. And I'm not going to sit there and share it with y'all so that, you know, freaking I can't get one. Yeah, like it's just, you know, this is like a lot of stuff that, you know, people just, they're not thinking. They're not thinking about, you know, these sort of things. Black people are so bad with this. And you would think that after Hurricane Katrina that we would learn, you know, from Hurricane Katrina, all them black people, all them black bodies you saw floating in that water, all them decomposed bodies, you know, people on their rooftops and stuff because they thought that it wasn't going to be bad. Go ahead and watch those Hurricane Katrina videos. You ain't seen nothing but helicopters picking up black people off of their rooftops. Not white people, because white people got the hell out of there. They were prepared. White people are the ones that had the boats. They were prepared. Black people, you know, oh, I can't leave, or I'm not prepared to leave, you know. And the poorest people, and this is what I'm saying, like black people, we're the most poor, we're the most disenfranchised, we're the most unprepared, we're the most sickly. Okay, we got the worst health care. You know what I'm saying? We can't, most of us are not going to be able to tolerate a grid down situation. You know, when it comes to white folks, you know, if I had 100 black people in their current condition and I had 100 white people in their current condition and we had some grid down situation, I would lose way more black people than white people. Just from go. I'd probably lose more than 50% of black people just from go because of our condition and our situation. You know, poor health, diabetes, you know, freaking, you know, poor nutrition, you know, not being having any of the basic, you know, preparation. You know, I got a what you call it? I got a freaking how many of y'all got a bug out bag? I got a bug out bag, you know, and I got a bug out bag. I got body armor. You know, I got all type of shit, you know, just in case some shit happens and I gotta get, you know, out of my place in, you know, less than 2 minutes. You know, can you get out of your place in less than 2 minutes? You know, do you know where your shoes are, your keys are, your wallet, you know, everything that you would need, chapstick. You gotta have chapstick. You'd be struggling without some chapstick. I'll tell you that right now. That's another one of the small things you don't think about. You know what else you don't think about? You know, you could take a shit anywhere. You could take a shit in the woods. But let me ask you a question. Would you rather have some toilet paper or would you rather have some baby wipes? I would rather have some baby wipes. And so, you know, it's like people don't think about stuff like that. You know, they think, oh, you know, we'll just be out on the road somewhere. I'm like, you ever think about having to wipe your ass? Where you gonna wipe your ass? Okay, take a shit on the side of the road. No big deal. Pop a squat. Okay, now what you gonna wipe your ass with? What you gonna scoop your hands up your ass and what you gonna wipe your ass with? You know what I mean? Nobody really rolls around with freaking toilet paper. It's easier to just go and get the baby wipes. On top of the fact that the baby wipes, I mean, you will be thanking the gods, okay, if you pack some baby wipes in your preparation kit, you know, your bug out kit, whatever it is. You will be thanking the gods that you put baby wipes in there. You'll be like, oh, my asshole is so clean, right? I mean, this is everybody's so comfortable with society now. You know, they're just so comfortable. You see this with the, you know, the Twitter and the Facebook and the freaking, you know, everybody's on social media and oh my God, if you took that away, everybody would just lose their mind. And I'm like, people are not paying attention to or recognizing, They're not paying attention to recognizing, what a grid down situation might look like. Even a partial grid down situation, just partially. You know what I'm saying? Imagine being in freaking, Michigan right now where, was it Flint, Michigan, where they can't even drink the water? They can't even drink the water. So imagine if they can't get bottled water. Now what? Now what you gonna do? Like it's in other words, part of the grid is already down. They can't just drink the water because it's got fucking lead in it. Right? So I don't want to make this video too long. I'm just saying, I just think that black people just need to, just need to be in the back of your mind. It's not a big deal. It's not like, oh, because you went out and you bought a first aid kit that you're now paranoid, or oh, because you went out and you bought some bottled water that you're paranoid, but you gotta have, you should be prepared and have something. You should always, bottled water is a must. You should always have that. Ain't no telling what could happen. And then again, you start factoring all the different scenarios, freaking, tyrannical government, freaking invasion from North Korea, freaking, the dollar collapses, a large race riot in your city. It could be anything. And black people are not prepared. I just always have that scene in my head in Rosewood when them white men, came to what was her name? Was her name Miss Sandy or something like that in the movie? What was her name? The woman from the, what was she from? Was it the Jeffersons or was it Good Times? I think it was Good Times. The mother. And was it Good Times or was it Jeffersons? I forget. Anyway, y'all know who I'm talking about. But I'm saying, I think of that scenario. They motherfuckers just show up at your door. What you gonna do? But black people, we don't think about that. Like I said, go check out the, and I don't know if I'll post that video or not, but go check out, it's Emory University. And it's the Columbia. I don't think it's Columbus. I think it's Columbia, Tennessee. If it's not Columbia, Tennessee, then it's Columbus, Tennessee. And she breaks down the riot that they had, and a bunch of black men got locked up. This is Thurgood Marshall's first case, if you don't know it. This is one of the, I don't know if his first case, but it's one of his big cases that Thurgood Marshall took up. They almost lynched him when he went down there. They almost lynched him. After he got the black men off in the court case, I think one guy, he got locked up. He did like 8 years or something like that. They were charging him with attempted murder because remember, this is right after World War II. This is 1946. This is right after World War II. Again, black soldiers, this is one of the reasons why they never wanted black people to be in the military. Because they knew once they got out there and they got a taste of blood and they fought and they looked a man and they looked an enemy in their eye, you know what I'm saying? Like, they wasn't about to come back and you weren't just about to push them around. Like, nigga, do you know who I am? I'm a white man. You see me walking on the sidewalk, please. That motherfucker went over in Europe and was, shooting and killing, some Germans and shit like that. Please, man. He's not about to tolerate that. And in the whole scenario, again, the woman tells a better story than I do. It was over a busted radio, and the boys, the soldiers, was defending his mother. A fight broke out, and then, the white people was like, oh my God, he hit a white man. And then they went to the black side of town, and the black people, they wasn't having it. And the white guy was trying to burn down the buildings. He shot around at his feet, like, don't try it. And they was like, oh my God, the niggas is shooting, and then they, came back with a whole bunch of guns, and then the National Guard got involved. It's all fucked up. What's crazy is there's actually another situation in Tennessee that was right around the same time, which is Athens, Tennessee. And Athens, Tennessee was basically white war veterans that were having issues with the local government. And there's a whole movie on that. They did a whole movie about Athens, Tennessee. And it was literally the people versus the government. But like I said, there's other cases in times in history, and even in the past, where the government has come down hard on, white people. So people who run around and say, the government's not going to do that. They've already have. Ludlow Massacre, Latimer Massacre, Memorial Day Massacre. Look them up. I mean, they're right there. And most white people don't even know about their own massacres. They like, we're all Americans and American and Colin Kaepernick needs to stand and da 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 da. And they don't even know their own history about how they got fucked up. The only ones that know that are maybe like the 3%ers and the Oath Keepers and some other, militia groups. But the majority of them, they don't know that shit. They sit there and they think that, it's this is white America and all white people are on the same team and there's no such thing as class or differences between whites and we're all the same. And I'm like, please, like I said before, white people had to fight for 40-hour work weeks and full medical and dental and child labor laws and, retirement and things like that. They had to fight for that shit. That shit wasn't given to them. Them fat cats, those white oligarchs, they would have had them, the poor white men and their children, working just as hard as a slave if it was up to them. But those white people fought for those jobs. But see, today's white people, they completely forget that. And then not only that, they have this sense of entitlement where when they see black people fighting for the shit, they go and they side with the oligarchy as opposed to recognizing, hey, wait a minute, they fighting for the same shit that we was fighting for. But since it's so many generations later, it totally goes over their head. So, you don't rely on white people to fucking get it. You have to remind them. You got to know the history better than they know the history so that, you can at least get them to stop, pause, and think about it. But most of them, they don't know their own history. Right. I mean, when you see the kids, and the type of education we get in school, these are the things that they don't teach you in school. They don't teach you about Athens, Tennessee. They don't teach you about the Ludlow Massacre. They don't teach you about the Latimer Massacre. They don't teach you about the Memorial Day Massacre. They don't teach you these things. They teach you George Washington crossed the river. There was a Civil War. Slavery ended. There was Jim Crow, Martin Luther King, and Vietnam. There was George W. Bush, Reagan, and freaking, Nixon got kicked out of office and Obama became president at the end. like that's what they do. Like, that's how they teach you American history. You know what I mean? They don't teach you what really went down. Again, you only got a handful of people that control the textbooks that get approved to be in these damn schools. You know what I mean? Black people, Martin Luther King was talking more personal responsibility than Malcolm X was talking more personal responsibility than Martin Luther King. You would think that when it comes to the white conservatives, that they would want black people to espouse what Martin Luther King was talking. Malcolm X was talking. I keep getting them switched up. Malcolm X was talking, or Fred Hampton was talking, because that's all personal responsibility. But no, that's too much independence. We want y'all to be dependent. We want y'all to be dependent, but not dependent, right? That doesn't even make any sense, right? We want you to be dependent, but not dependent. And I'm like, that makes no sense. So you don't want us to be free, but you want us to not be dependent on you, so it doesn't cost you anything. But you want us to be dependent on you so that we're not free, and therefore you have control over us. I'm like, oh, okay, I get it, right? So, you gotta pay attention to it. It's all on YouTube. It's all there. Just like the shit with the FBI and Richard Aoki, and the way that he basically was used to arm the Black Panthers so that the Black Panthers would engage in armed conflict against the police officers, and then the FBI and the government could then, use that. They could incite the violence and then argue that this was why the blacks need to be disarmed. And here comes Reagan, with the Mulford Act. Oh, well, we need to stop open carry in California because look at these Black Panthers. When it was the white federal government through Richard Aoki that armed the Black Panthers. You see? That's the game that's being played. But see, if you don't know your history, you don't know about, Richard Aoki and Larry Threadgill, then, you don't know how the game was played. It's all there. Hell, most of the people are dead. Richard Aoki committed suicide back in 2009? Blew his head off? And they said apparently he had a Black Panther suit on the bed, and he had his informant suit on the bed. So he was probably torn between, what he did and saw the effects of, what he contributed to, which was the demise of the Black Panthers, and therefore the demise of many positive aspects of the Black community, or what the Black community could have been had the Black Panthers and Bobby Seale and freaking Huey P. Newton had gone down this leadership path, as opposed to Huey being killed because they claimed that he was a heroin addict, right? All the hoteps right now are like, damn, I didn't know Pete had his research. I mean, is he a hotep? No, I'm not a hotep. I read, nigga. I read. It's all there on the fucking internet. Shit. So it's like, you see this type of stuff going down, and everybody's like, oh, this can't happen now. Oh, it can't happen. But you see how fake and phony the Democrats are with Joe Biden and Elizabeth Warren. Reparations for what? For what? Right? You see all this bullshit and this coded language and shit. They telling you how they really fucking feel about you. And yet black people are so comfortable with being dependent on these people. And again, there's shit that's not even in their control, like this damn coronavirus. It's not even in their control. So if they have shit that they're trying to fight, that they can't fight it and they can't deal with and whatnot, and we're just this inconvenient, irrelevant population, you know what I'm saying? Again, we can't rely on them, aside from how they feel about us, but on top of the fact that, their system is fragile. I don't know what black people don't get about that. We seem to think that, the white man's ice is colder and they know what they're doing. Really? Do they know what they're doing? That's why we had the financial collapse a couple years ago. They know what they're doing. Really? They know what they're doing. And we got this college bubble, this up and coming collapse that's going to come. They know what they're doing. Right? And then you got this situation with the freaking coronavirus and all this shit, and they know what they're doing. Really? Okay. All right. You keep telling yourself that. Anyway, that's all I got to say. That's my video. SWP out.
Silent night, holy night, all is
It's hard to watch something you love destroy itself, to see it fall apart. Disaster always feels so distant, detached. Someone else's struggle in some faraway place. It's not until it's in our city, at our doors, that we realize how fragile we are. All of us. All of this.
No, baby, Steven. I'm here. Mommy's right here. No.
Please.
I love you, Marcus.
Sarah. And when it hit, when it came down hard. And we fell. We buried ourselves in anger, fear, in the instinct to survive.
I'm sorry, Sarah. I'm just not strong enough.
Where's the drive, son?
Please no more.
And the real truth is, no one watched, no one saw, wanted to see.
Where you going?
Tragedy is invisible. People turn away from it and run from it if they can. And it's hard knowing that you belong here, that your purpose lies amongst all this pain. But someone's gotta be there to pick it up.